Okay, today we stand together in a world that feels louder and faster than ever before. Social media feeds race past our eyes, emotions surge and collapse in an instant, and the pace of modern living leaves little room for silence. Yet beneath this constant noise lies a timeless truth. Life is like a vast field, and every thought, every word, every action is a seed we plant. Sooner or later, those seeds grow into the harvest of our character, our destiny, our karma. Welcome to Stoic Dhamma, a space where ancient wisdom meets daily mindfulness, where Stoic philosophy opens the doorway to inner stillness and clarity. Today we journey into the heart of transformation, exploring how the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, teach us to shape karma not through mystical fate, but through deliberate practice. This is not about escaping life's storms, but about learning to walk calmly through them. Together we'll uncover how small choices, repeated each day, can reframe suffering, renew purpose, and lead us gently toward a better life. In the stillness of the ancient Mediterranean mornings, when the streets of Athens or Rome had not yet awakened to the noise of commerce, philosophers would gather in courtyards and shaded porches to speak of the unseen laws guiding human life. For the Stoics, life was not an accident of chance. It was a field, and every thought was a seed waiting to take root. The Stoics believed that the mind is the true ground of our existence. What you allow to grow within it, anger, envy, compassion, discipline, becomes the harvest you must one day reap. This perspective is not far from the Eastern notion of karma, the understanding that actions, whether visible or hidden in thought, generate consequences. Both traditions remind us that nothing is without weight, and nothing is without return. Imagine waking up each day carrying an invisible bag of seeds. With every choice, you scatter them across the soil of your life. A harsh word thrown in frustration plants the roots of discord. A patient gesture, even unseen, nurtures the soil of harmony. The Stoics invite us to notice this simple truth. We are gardeners of our own destiny. Seneca once observed that life is long enough if we know how to use it. His words reveal that meaning is not given, but cultivated. If you waste your moments in distraction or bitterness, you sow weeds that choke the harvest. But if you plant seeds of discipline, kindness, and resilience, your days can grow into a field rich with fruit. From here, we turn to the empowering heart of Stoic philosophy. Unlike systems that emphasize forces outside your control, Stoicism returns the responsibility inward. What matters most is not what the world does to you, but how you respond. The seed is not the storm nor the drought, but your decision to nurture life despite them. Karma reframed in this way is not destiny imposed, but destiny created. Think of Marcus Aurelius, writing quietly in his tent during military campaigns. The emperor of Rome, surrounded by uncertainty, still chose to cultivate humility and clarity in his private notes. He knew that power, wealth, and circumstance could vanish in a moment, but the inner seeds of wisdom would remain. His reflections, later called meditations, became a timeless map for anyone seeking calm amid chaos. The strength of this teaching lies in its simplicity. You do not need to control the winds of fate. You do not need to know what tomorrow holds. You need only to choose your seeds carefully today. This act of mindful sowing shapes the ground of tomorrow's life. Each gesture, however small, carries within it the blueprint of transformation. Now imagine your own life as a wide field. Perhaps some corners are fertile and blooming, while others lie barren or tangled with weeds. It is tempting to despair at the wildness of the landscape, but the Stoics remind us, the past cannot be changed, yet the soil of the present is always ready. Every moment you are given is another chance to plant anew. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes more than an abstract ideal. It becomes an invitation to awareness. When you pause before speaking, when you breathe before reacting, when you choose patience over irritation, you are sowing seeds invisible to the world but powerful within your soul. The Stoics assure us that the harvest will come, even if unseen in the beginning. But there's another layer to this wisdom. Seeds do not grow overnight. They require time, attention, and the endurance to withstand seasons of difficulty. In the same way, cultivating a Stoic life is not about quick results. It is about steady practice, about repeating small acts of virtue until they become the roots of your being. Karma, seen through this lens, is not punishment but process, not judgment but unfolding. Epictetus, once a slave and later a teacher, embodied this lesson. He could not control his chains, but he could control his mind. In every circumstance, he planted seeds of reason and acceptance. His students, witnessing his unshakable calm, carried forward his teachings, proving that true freedom is not the absence of hardship but the mastery of response. From this example, you may realize that even your greatest difficulties are fields waiting for new seeds. A workplace conflict can become a chance to sow patience. A personal loss can become the soil for gratitude. Even the unexplained mysteries of life, the sudden changes, the unanswered questions, can be seen as hidden grounds where deeper virtues take root. Archaeologists uncover temples and ruins, fragments of civilizations long gone, and yet the wisdom of the Stoics remains alive. Why? Because these teachings are not carved in stone, but planted in human hearts. Every generation that practices them waters the same seeds anew, proving that truth is not lost to time. In your own life, you continue this lineage each time you act with integrity, each time you resist despair. Daily mindfulness is like sunlight for the seeds within us. When you slow your reactions and notice your thoughts, you create space for growth. Imperfection is natural. Weeds will appear. Yet with awareness, you can gently remove them and nurture what truly matters. This is the Stoic way, living in harmony with nature's cycles rather than resisting them. Ask yourself, what seeds are you planting today? Are they seeds of distraction, sown in endless scrolling, seeds of envy, rooted in comparison, or seeds of calm, planted through quiet breaths, attentive listening, and thoughtful action? Each choice holds a future within it. The beauty of Stoic wisdom is its gentle reminder. Transformation is always possible. You do not need perfect conditions. You need only this moment, the soil of now. Karma, then, is not a chain to the past, but a garden opening toward the future. So let this first part rest in your heart as an image, you standing in a vast field, a small bag of seeds in your hand. The horizon stretches wide and the soil is ready. The question is simple yet profound. What will you choose to plant today, and what harvest will you welcome tomorrow? When we look back into history, we see that Stoic philosophy did not emerge in isolation. It was born in Athens around 300 BCE, during an age of shifting empires, restless societies, and profound questions about human purpose. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught in the painted porch of the Agora, where citizens gathered not just to trade goods, but to trade ideas. His vision was simple. Wisdom is not a luxury, but a necessity for living in harmony with nature. The world Zeno entered was turbulent. Alexander's conquests had left Greek culture stretched across vast territories, but also left people uncertain about identity and meaning. In that uncertainty, Stoicism became a stabilizing compass. It told people that the outer world, no matter how unpredictable, could not control the inner life unless permission was given. The soil of resilience lay within. This insight echoed across centuries, eventually reaching the heart of the Roman Empire. By the time Stoicism took root in Rome, the philosophy had grown more practical. Roman thinkers were less concerned with abstract debates and more with how to endure political instability, personal hardship, and the fleeting nature of power. Marcus Aurelius, writing in the dim light of his military tent, reflected that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. These words remind us that inner seeds are not just ideas, but stains that gradually shape the entire fabric of our lives. From here we turn to Seneca, a statesman and philosopher navigating the treacherous courts of imperial Rome. Surrounded by intrigue and danger, he counseled that life's brevity makes time our most precious resource. For him, philosophy was not a pastime, but a medicine. He compared the mind to a garden requiring careful cultivation, warning that negligence would allow weeds of vice to thrive. In this way, Seneca's lessons mirrored both karma and modern mindfulness. What you nurture shapes what you become. Epictetus, by contrast, carried none of Rome's wealth. Born into slavery, crippled by misfortune, he discovered freedom through philosophy. His teachings, recorded by his students, declared that true power lies not in possessions or position, but in aligning one's will with nature's order. If an event lies beyond control, let it pass like wind through branches. If an action lies within your reach, let it be guided by virtue. Through this perspective, karma is not a mystical force, but the logic of cause and effect within the moral universe. Stoicism does not ask for cold withdrawal from life. It seeks balance between reason and emotion. Feelings are natural. Anger, fear, joy, all rise like weather shifting across the sky. Yet wisdom lies in recognizing them as passing, not permanent, and in choosing how to respond. This vision mirrors ancient Indian thought, where emotions flow like currents of the mind, but never define the self. Through history, the traces of Stoic lives remain. Fragile papyrus scrolls still preserve their reflections, and marble busts display faces marked with calm resolve. These artifacts remind us that Stoicism was not abstract theory. It was lived day by men and women who endured ambition, loss, love, and mortality, just as we do now. At its heart, Stoicism affirms that nature is rational, interwoven with order. To live wisely is to act in harmony with that order. Karma, then, is not a strict ledger, but the fabric of reality itself, sustained or torn by our choices. Each selfish act weakens the weave. Each virtuous one restores balance. In this way, every seed of thought or deed ripples endlessly into the vast, interconnected cosmos. Now imagine the Roman Forum, bustling with voices, merchants, soldiers, and philosophers. Amid the chaos, a Stoic teacher guides students to see the Forum itself as a lesson. Noise tests patience, wealth tempts greed, gossip provokes judgment. Each encounter offers an opportunity to choose, to plant seeds of wisdom rather than folly. In this way, philosophy became a portable sanctuary. Wherever life carried them, the Stoics carried their practice. For us today, living in a digital forum of endless scrolling and relentless comparison, the same wisdom applies. The outer world has changed, but the inner challenges remain. Information overload tests our focus, consumer culture stirs our desires, and fleeting trends invite us to chase shadows. Stoicism reminds us that while the surface shifts, the soil beneath is constant. What you choose to cultivate within determines whether you are grounded or uprooted by the storm. One of the most profound aspects of Stoic philosophy is its invitation to personal responsibility. It tells you that your life is not merely shaped by external fate, nor entirely by the mysterious hand of the gods, but by the choices you make in the present moment. This does not deny hardship. It acknowledges suffering as inevitable, yet insists that suffering itself can be transformed into wisdom if you plant the right seeds in its soil. In this light, karma is not an abstract weight dragging you forward. It is the momentum of your own character. Each action becomes part of a current, shaping the path ahead. A lie spoken casually strengthens the habit of dishonesty. A truth spoken with courage strengthens the habit of integrity. The Stoics teach us to see every moment as a fork in the road, where small choices bend the trajectory of our lives. From here we can conclude that Stoicism and karma are not strangers, but reflections in different cultural mirrors. Both teach that human beings are accountable for their inner and outer lives. Both affirm that consequences follow causes and that no seed remains barren forever. Where they meet is in the call to live deliberately, to choose wisely, to accept that transformation begins not tomorrow, but today. As this section closes, imagine again the painted porch where Zeno first taught. The sun filters through columns, the air carries the hum of the marketplace, and a teacher quietly reminds his students, "Your life is your garden. Your thoughts are your seeds, and the future is already sprouting beneath your feet." The same truth holds for you now, across centuries, across cultures, across the mystery of existence. Philosophy that remains on parchment risks fading into history. Philosophy that enters the rhythms of daily life becomes living wisdom. The Stoics never intended their insights to sit idle in libraries. They designed them as tools, to be lifted and used, to be tested against the weight of real struggles. This is where Stoicism steps beyond theory and invites us into practice. From here we turn to the simple yet profound truth. Every day is a canvas. Each choice we make paints a stroke across it. The question is not whether we will paint, but what picture will emerge. A day filled with resentment sketches turmoil. A day guided by patience sketches harmony. In this sense, Stoicism is less about ideas and more about artistry, the art of shaping life moment by moment. In the modern workplace, pressure is constant. Deadlines loom, disagreements arise, crises appear without warning. Yet this very ground is fertile for Stoic practice. Instead of reacting with haste, we pause, breathe, and remember that our response is ours alone to command. Calm plants resilience, clarity plants effectiveness, and integrity plants trust. Each moment of restraint becomes a harvest of stability that others can rely upon. In relationships, where emotions move swiftly, the Stoic path offers another kind of cultivation. A careless word may wound, a misunderstanding may divide, yet philosophy reminds us to look deeper. Others, like ourselves, carry invisible burdens. When tempted to judge, we pause and choose compassion. When anger surges, we respond with understanding. Such seeds do not prevent conflict, but they allow bonds to endure with grace and strength. Even within the greatest storms may gather, anxiety, regret, envy, fear. Here, Stoicism does not offer escape, but transformation. By seeing emotions as passing weather rather than permanent states, we create distance, and within that distance lies freedom. We choose which seeds to nurture, which to let wither. Practical rituals ground these insights. Marcus Aurelius turned to journaling each night, examining choices and planting better intentions for tomorrow. Today, we too can prepare the soil each morning with reflection, then gather its lessons each evening. In this rhythm, karma becomes conscious cultivation, not an accident of circumstance. Another practice is meditation upon loss, what the Stoics called negative visualization. Imagine life without what you take for granted. A loved one, health, stability. Far from inducing despair, this exercise awakens gratitude. By seeing clearly the impermanence of all things, we learn to cherish them fully. Gratitude, once planted, grows into resilience, softening the sting of future losses. The harvest is not fear, but freedom. Daily mindfulness, too, carries the Stoic spirit. As you walk, notice the rhythm of your breath. As you speak, notice the intention behind words. As you act, notice whether you serve virtue or impulse. This steady attention does not demand perfection. Weeds of distraction will still appear, yet mindfulness allows us to gently pull them out before they choke the garden. In this way, Stoic practice aligns with modern calls for presence in a world drowning in noise. In workplaces shaped by constant speed, these practices may appear fragile, yet their strength lies in subtlety. A single act of calm amid chaos shifts the atmosphere. A single act of honesty amid pressure plants a seed of trust. A single act of compassion amid conflict plants a seed of healing. Like drops of water, these actions carve lasting change, shaping both personal destiny and collective culture. In personal life, these practices shield against cycles of blame and resentment. Imagine a family argument. Words escalate, tempers flare. Stoic wisdom pauses to ask, is this within my control? Often the answer is no, but within control remains tone of voice, choice of silence, willingness to listen. By practicing these responses, we transform cycles of harm into opportunities for growth. Karma, in this sense, is rewritten through restraint. Turning inward once more, the practice of self-examination becomes essential. Each evening, reflect on the seeds planted during the day. Did impatience take root? Did gratitude bloom? Did fear guide a choice? This gentle accounting is not condemnation, but cultivation. By noticing patterns, we adjust. By adjusting, we realign. Over time, the garden of character becomes more ordered, less overrun by weeds, more radiant with fruit. But there's another dimension often overlooked, the acceptance of mystery. Stoicism does not claim to explain every detail of life's unfolding. Some events arrive without reason. Some questions remain unanswered. Instead of demanding certainty, Stoics teach us to accept uncertainty as part of the natural order. In doing so, we plant seeds of peace, surrendering the need to control the uncontrollable. This acceptance transforms karma from an enemy to a teacher. Imagine standing on an archaeological site, holding fragments of pottery once used in daily life. Those who shaped clay centuries ago faced struggles similar to ours: love, loss, hope, despair. Their tools may differ, but their inner soil was the same. Stoic practice bridges this distance, reminding us that human resilience transcends eras. To live with calm, courage, and virtue is to share in an ancient lineage that continues unbroken into our present. Daily practice does not eliminate hardship. It does not promise unbroken joy, but it reshapes the way we meet hardship. Instead of collapsing under weight, we bend like trees in the wind, rooted in virtue. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, we learn to savor simplicity. Instead of being driven by fear, we act from clarity. These shifts, though small, accumulate into profound transformation. Each day becomes an opportunity. The morning is the planting, the afternoon is the tending, the evening is the harvest. With every sunrise, new soil awaits. With every sunset, lessons return to the hand. Through this rhythm, Stoicism transforms from philosophy to lifestyle, from distant wisdom to daily breath. Karma is no longer fate imposed from outside, but choice shaped from within. So as this part closes, imagine waking tomorrow with a simple ritual. You pause before beginning, you breathe deeply. You ask, what seeds shall I plant today? Patience, gratitude, integrity. Each choice, however small, carries the promise of a future harvest. Each day becomes both field and teacher, inviting you to cultivate the garden of your life. History remembers not only ideas, but the people who carried them through storms. To understand Stoicism fully, we must look at lives where philosophy was not just studied, but embodied. These lives serve as lanterns in darkness, showing how wisdom, once planted, can grow into resilience, leadership, and quiet strength. Their stories reveal how karma can be transformed through daily practice. Let us begin with Marcus Aurelius, remembered as the philosopher-emperor. Though burdened by wars, political unrest, and the grief of personal loss, he carried the weight of Rome with steady resolve. Yet in the quiet of his tent, away from the noise of empire, he turned inward. His meditations, written as private reflections, show a man who discovered that real authority rests not in legions or crowns, but in the governance of one's own mind. His life reminds us that even from the heights of power, the inner garden remains the truest and most sacred realm. Now imagine Marcus facing the chaos of battle. Soldiers awaited commands, uncertainty filled the air, yet he chose calm. He reminded himself that death, loss, and fortune were threads in nature's fabric. By grounding himself in Stoic principles, he transformed fear into clarity. His legacy was not only victories in war, but the enduring testimony that philosophy can guide even the most burdened of leaders. But there's another figure who brings Stoicism to life in a different way: Admiral James Stockdale, a prisoner of war in Vietnam for over 7 years. Tortured, isolated, deprived of comfort, he turned to the teachings of Epictetus. He could not control his captors, but he could control his response. By holding firm to Stoic practice, he endured suffering with dignity, and upon release credited philosophy as his anchor. His story shows that even in the darkest prisons, the seeds of Stoicism can bloom. The resonance between Marcus Aurelius and Stockdale is striking. One held supreme power, the other none at all. Yet both lived the same truth: freedom begins within. One sat beneath the weight of empire, the other beneath chains. Both cultivated strength not by escaping hardship, but by transforming it into wisdom. Karma in their lives became not punishment, but a teacher shaping the soul through fire. Seneca's life also holds lessons. As advisor to Nero, he navigated one of history's most dangerous courts. Despite the treachery surrounding him, he urged moderation, self-discipline, and the pursuit of virtue. His letters echo with reminders that wealth and power cannot guarantee peace, while self-mastery can. Even when commanded to end his life, he accepted death with composure, proving that philosophy prepared him for the final harvest as much as for daily challenges. Epictetus, by contrast, reminds us that philosophy is not bound to rank or birth. From the chains of slavery, he taught generations of students that no one can enslave the mind unless permission is given. His quiet defiance was not rebellion against fate, but harmony with it. Each lesson he gave was a seed planted in hearts, seeds that would travel across centuries, eventually guiding emperors, prisoners, and everyday seekers alike. What these figures share is not perfection, but practice. They were human, with flaws, fears, and failures. Yet their commitment to daily discipline allowed them to meet life as it came. In this, they embody the Stoic call to transform karma, not by erasing pain, but by reshaping the meaning we draw from it. Their lives remind us that destiny is not written in events, but in the responses we cultivate. For us, the relevance is clear. You may not rule an empire or face imprisonment, but your daily struggles hold the same seeds of transformation. Work demands, family tensions, health challenges, all are fields awaiting cultivation. The examples of Marcus, Stockdale, Seneca, and Epictetus show that no circumstance is beyond the reach of Stoic practice. Wherever you stand, philosophy can root itself in the soil of your life. Now imagine your own day through their lens. When a colleague frustrates you, hear Epictetus reminding that the offense lies not in the act, but in your judgment of it. When uncertainty unsettles you, remember Marcus urging that the universe flows according to its nature, and your task is to live in accord with reason. When wealth tempts or ambition burns, hear Seneca cautioning that true wealth lies in contentment, not possession. But there's another layer to these lessons. They call us to community. The Stoics believed that humans are citizens of a greater cosmos, threads in the same fabric. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that harming another is harming oneself. Stockdale, even in captivity, found ways to support fellow prisoners, sharing strength through coded taps on prison walls. Their examples teach us that Stoic practice is not isolation, but service, planting seeds that nourish both self and others. Even in modern life, we can draw inspiration from figures who embodied Stoic resilience without naming it. Leaders who faced crises calmly, artists who turned suffering into beauty, or ordinary individuals who met tragedy with quiet dignity, all show that Stoicism is not confined to philosophers. It is a timeless way of being, accessible to anyone willing to cultivate it. When we look closely at these lives, a single pattern reveals itself. Hardship was never a barrier but a fertile field. Marcus sowed calm in the midst of war. Stockdale sowed dignity in the darkness of captivity. Seneca sowed wisdom amid political turbulence. Epictetus sowed freedom while bound in chains. What they reaped was not comfort but character, not ease but endurance. From their harvest we now gather seeds to plant within our own lives. As this reflection draws to a close, imagine yourself as part of this living chain. The painted porch of Athens, the Roman battlefield, the cold prison cell, they are not distant relics but echoes reaching into your present moment. You stand, as they once did, in a field of choices, holding seeds in your hand. The stories of the Stoics show you what is possible when intention meets discipline. The question rests with you now. What will you sow, and what harvest will your life leave behind? As we arrive at the end of this journey, we return to the simple image that guided us from the beginning. Life as a field, each thought and action a seed. The Stoics remind us that our harvest is not determined by chance or fate alone, but by the daily choices we plant in silence. Karma, seen through this lens, becomes neither burden nor threat, but invitation, an opportunity to create harmony through mindful living. Stoicism stands as a bridge between East and West, between past and present. It calls us to live with reason, resilience and compassion, transforming hardship into wisdom and uncertainty into growth. With each sunrise, you hold seeds in your hand. What you sow today becomes tomorrow's life. If this reflection has touched you, consider subscribing to Stoic Dharma, sharing your thoughts and joining us for the next exploration. Know yourself deeply before understanding the whole world. Until then, may your garden be tended with patience, your mind with clarity, and your soul with peace.
References 1. Aurelius, M. 2006. Meditations, M. Hammond, trans. Penguin Classics. Point 2. Epictetus. 2008. Discourses and Selected Writings, R. Dobbin, trans. Penguin Classics. Point 3. Irvine, W. B. 2008. A Guide to the Good Life, The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy. Oxford University Press.